Hi, welcome to Dan's Solfège Trainer, exercise 4B, that's something I just love about myself. Now that you know your triads and you know your fourths, let's do something new and strange to our triads. We'll talk all about triad inversions after we sing this. If you're using Dan's Solfège Trainer in order, you've seen this key several times so far. Let's find Do. Since we know the last sharp of any sharp key is T, and the last sharp here is C sharp is T, so D is Do. We're in D major. We just used this key in exercise 4A also. Here's Do. Do, mi, do, so, do. Your turn. Do, mi, do, so, do. The first time we'll do it in solfège, of course. 1, 2, ready, go. Do, mi, do, so, do, so, do, so, do. Re, fa, mi, la, re, la, re, la, re. Mi, so, fa, mi, ti, mi, ti, mi, ti, mi. Fa, la, so, fa, do, fa, do, fa, do, fa. So, ti, la, so, re, so, re, so, re, so. La, do, ti, la, mi, la, mi, la, mi, la. Ti, re, do, ti, fa, ti, fa, ti, fa, ti. Do, so, mi, do. Now let's do it on words. We will still tag it in solfège. 1, 2, ready, go. That's something I just love about myself. 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 Do, so, mi, do. Now that you've sung it, let's cover the concept because you will see triad inversions everywhere. This exercise uses a triad, which you know is a 3-note chord, but the triad is inverted, meaning the root is not on the bottom. You see, 3 notes in a triad means 3 options for what could be on the bottom, and each of these options has a name. Let me show you root position and what a root is. So this exercise starts with the notes do, re, mi, and so. We're going to ignore this re. It's what we call a melodic passing tone. Just a note that you sing once on your way from mi to do. Do, mi, re, do. This re doesn't really help us define our chord. So we really have do, mi, and so, a classic 1 chord. The most basic position has the root on the bottom. Now, what's a root? Well, when your triad, 3 notes, can be spelled 1, 3, 5. In other words, the second note is 2 notes above the first. And the third note is 2 notes above that. That's the most simplified way a triad can be spelled, and the bottom, when it looks that way, is known as the root. So we say it is in root position. 1, 3, 5, do, mi, so. Now before we move on, let me point something out for later. On the staff, you will see a root position triad looking like line, 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 or space, space, space. Now suppose you invert this triad by moving the root up an octave. So moving this D up to a higher D. So your triad, we still have do in this chord, it's just not on the bottom anymore. Now, the chord member we call the third of the chord, the note that was a third above the root, in this case, mi, is on the bottom. A chord that has its third on the bottom is not in root position, it's in first inversion. Mi, so, do, 3, 5, 1, and it looks different. You now have line, line, space, or space, space, line. And you have the interval of a fourth between these 2 notes. And to invert a chord that is not a 1 chord, you would do all the same stuff with that chord's notes. And to get the chords as we just sang them in this exercise, we would invert them one more time, leaving the note that was a fifth above the root, which we call the fifth of the chord, in this case so, on the bottom. This is called second inversion. 5, 1, 3, so, do, mi. 5, 1, 3, so, do, mi. So these look like line, space, space, or space, line, line. And again, there is this fourth between so and do, which are now the bottom two notes. Those are the ones that we sang over and over again in this exercise that give it that nice little irritating quality. Bellissimo. Now that you have seen this, if you ever have occasion to look at written music, you'll see these chord shapes everywhere. If you ever want to know the root, invert or uninvert the chord until it looks like root position, until it's line, 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 or space, space, space. One strange point about numbers here, people can get confused about this. Even though re, fa, la would be the 2, 4, 6 of the key, we might still call them the 1, 3, 5 of the 2 chord. You'll never have this problem in solfège, of course, because solfège is a perfect system in every way. But when you're analyzing chords, people usually use numbers, and they often call the tones of every chord by the numbers 1, 3, 5, 7, and so on, even if those 1, 3, 5, 7 are not actually do, mi, so, and ti of the key. You can review root position triads at 3D, a bitter solfège exercise in futility. Another challenge with second inversion triads is 7D, sometime means never. Next up, join me for first inversion triads at 4C, reading magazines. I'll see you there. Thanks for doing solfège with me. Have a great practice.